I'm Joel McCower, executive editor at greenbiz.com. We're talking about what will it take to make aviation environmentally sustainable. I'm talking with David Hone, the chief climate change advisor at Shell. Are there enough offsets available today to neutralize the emissions from aviation?
What's important to recognize, first of all, the journey that aviation needs to go on. So aviation is an emitting sector, like almost every sector of the economy today. And we know because of the climate issue and because of the structure of the Paris Agreement, emissions have to go effectively to zero in as little as 30 years. Now, for a sector like aviation, going from an emitting sector to a non-emitting sector would, in theory, require a completely different set of technologies, and they don't exist. So the journey that aviation will be on is one of, first of all, developing some new technologies, but also recognizing that the way to manage emissions and to reach this 0 point through a net zero emission strategy is to purchase offsets from other entities. So the aviation sector is at least a gigaton of emissions today. So that's 1 billion tons of emissions. And that is significantly larger than the markets today that could supply the equivalent in terms of offsets. And the scalable solution that exists today is what we call nature-based solutions. So this is effectively afforestation, reforestation, and various other nature-based solutions to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through natural processes. The simple one, growing a tree. That can be relatively quickly scaled up. Now, 1 billion tons is a very long journey, and it's going to take some years for that to happen. But every indicator is there that the potential for scale is available.
So are nature-based solutions the only kinds of offsets available for aviation?
Nature-based solutions represent a very scalable option for aviation today. And they're important because what they represent is a removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere that equates to the emissions of carbon dioxide from a flight. So you're balancing emissions with a sink. The question is, are there other ways of doing that? There's a technology which is a demonstration scale today in Iceland called air capture, where they're actually capturing CO2 directly from the atmosphere, scrubbing the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and compressing it and then storing it geologically in the subsurface in Iceland. So as well as storing carbon in the biosphere through nature-based solutions, you could look at mechanisms to store carbon geologically, but you have to equate that to the emissions into the atmosphere from aviation. So I think in the shorter term, nature-based solutions represent a real, measurable and viable option. But I think in the longer term, as the aviation industry starts to interface with these accounting structures of the Paris Agreement, there's a much wider variety of offsets available.
David Hone is the chief climate change advisor for Shell. Thanks so much, David.
Thank you very much.